To complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. President Rodrigo Duterte has officially brought back the management of the National Food Authority under the Department of Agriculture. Last September 17, 2018, Duterte signed Executive Order Number 62 transferring the NFA, Philippine Coconut Authority, and the Fertilizer and Pesticides Authority under the control of DA. The three agencies were previously under the office of the President during the Aquino administration through EO number 165. Duterte's EO 62 also reorganizes the NFA Council, making the DA Secretary its chairman and the NFA Administrator as its vice chairman. The council was previously headed by Secretary to the Cabinet Leoncio Evasco. Meanwhile, aid workers are mulling over the possibility of using heavy equipment to fast-track the search operations in the landslide-hit Itogon, Benguet. The effort to search for victims has been slow because rescuers only use shovels and their bare hands to dig through the ground. The mud deposits caused by the landslide are also getting thicker and slowly getting drier. It may take 1 month to recover all the bodies buried in the mud. However, the challenge for aid workers is how to send the special equipment to the site since the landslide destroyed roads going into the area.
As time goes by, sabi nga nila, medyo nahihirapan tayo pero we are optimistic naman na hanggat maaari makakuha tayo ng survivors.
Based on the DILG Cordillera report, there are now 44 confirmed deaths in the Itogon landslides, 19 of which are recorded in the Ukab village. Recovered bodies are also in the decomposition stage and needed DNA testing for proper identification. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources is offering livelihood assistance programs for Benguet miners who were affected by the order to suspend all small-scale mining operations in the Cordillera region. The order was prompted by a massive landslide that hit Itogon, Benguet during Typhoon Ompong's onslaught. DENR says the projects that include the National Greening Program, the Cash for Work program, and a campaign that will employ Bantay Gubat officers aim to encourage small-scale miners to refrain from illegal mining activities.
Kaya isa rin pity na mawalan nito ang hanap buhay nilang ito. But in order for them naman na ma-prevent the loss of lives naman in the future, mas mabuti na siguro if they can find another livelihood in this area doon sa kanilang mga probinsya na lang.
DENR reports that only around 500 miners from 10 small-scale mining companies in Benguet have acquired special authority from the agency and that over 1,000 miners are considered illegal. The Philippine National Police has filed charges against its personnel who were found to be using illegal drugs. Data from the PNP Crime Laboratory show that from January 2016 to September 2018, there are 349 policemen who have tested positive for illegal drug use. The report also states that drug use is more prevalent among police officers, one with 146 offenders, while the highest-ranking cop on record is a police superintendent. The National Capital Region Police Office also has the highest number of personnel who use illegal drugs, followed by Calabarzon and Zamboanga Peninsula.
Administratively, they are charged with grave misconduct. Of course, they will be given due process. But ang grave misconduct kasi, ang maximum na penalty niya is dismissal from the service.
The PNP also assures that its internal cleansing continues amid the government's intensified war against drugs. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, is currently coordinating with Hong Kong officials to find a certain Chan Yi-Hua alias Casey Chan, who is allegedly linked to a drug syndicate that tried to smuggle around 6.8 billion pesos worth of shabu in the country. PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino says Chan is among the 4 individuals charged for attempting to slip tons of drugs at the Manila International Container Port by concealing it inside 2 magnetic lifters. During a Senate inquiry earlier, Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Richard Gordon has urged PDEA to exert all efforts to arrest Chan and even suggested to publish his photo in a Chinese newspaper.
Sabi ko, huli nila lahat. At pilitin nila, pupukin nila. I even cited my own example. Huwag kang mag-give up, talagang habulin mo yan. And that's why I intend to call up Senator Cayetano or Secretary Cayetano to make that protest. This is a very, very dangerous situation that we're facing because it's right in our front door. The drugs are coming in.
Members and advocates for community of persons with disability are seeking sanctions against Communications Assistant Secretary Mocha Uson and her blogger friend Drew Olivar for mocking deaf people. The two are once again embroiled in a controversy after they posted a video of Olivar mimicking a deaf person and doing a sign language version of his controversial Pepe de Realismo dance. Uson can also be heard laughing in the background, seemingly in approval of Olivar's actions. The video that was posted last September 14 has gone viral and earned heavy backlash. The De La Salle College of St. Benilde has urged the government to penalize Uson and Olivar for mocking persons with disability, while Senator Nancy Binay reminded Uson of her role as a public servant and warned everyone that making fun of persons with disabilities is a violation of the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons or the Republic Act 9442. Olivar and Uson has apologized for the controversial video.
Patawarin niyo po ako sa pagiging insensitive ko, sa pagiging childish ko.
Humingi na po ng paumanhin si Andrew Olivar sa kanyang pagsasign language na may pabiro. Gayunpaman, I take full responsibility sa ginawa ng aking radio show partner at kaibigan. Kaya po sa ating mga kapatid sa deaf community, naway tanggapin niyo po ang aking sorry. Please forgive me.
And for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. live from Hong Kong. Stephanie, good evening.
Good evening, William. North Korea is set to invite foreign experts amid efforts to turn the Korean peninsula into a land of peace without nuclear weapons and threats. Eric Ferrer tells us why.
North Korea has agreed to permanently abolish its key missile facilities in the presence of foreign experts and is willing to close its main nuclear complex if the United States takes reciprocal action. Speaking at a joint news conference following their summit talks in Pyongyang, South Korea's President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said they agreed to turn the Korean peninsula into a land of peace without nuclear weapons and nuclear threats. We adopted a military pact to end a history of brutal and tragic confrontation and hostility. South and North Korea agreed on a denuclearization plan for the first time. It is a very meaningful outcome. The North has decided to permanently abolish the Tongchang re-engine test sites and missile launchers, with the attendance of experts from relevant countries. The two countries also made advances on inter-Korean ties, announcing plans to link up their railways, allow more reunions for families separated by war, and cooperate on health care. Moon invited the North Korean leader to Seoul, suggesting the visit should take place before the end of this year. I promised President Moon Jae-in that I will visit Seoul in the near future. The South's defense minister and the head of the North Korean army also signed an agreement to reduce military tensions, establishing a buffer zone along the border to prevent accidental clashes. The latest summit will be a litmus test for stalled negotiations on the North's nuclear program between Pyongyang and Washington, and for another meeting Kim recently proposed to US President Donald Trump following their historic encounter in June in Singapore. Eric Ferrer, UNTV News and Rescue, South Korea.
U.S. President Donald Trump ramps up tough talk on trade ahead of China's move to impose additional tariffs on U.S. goods worth $60 billion in retaliation to new U.S. tariffs. Charlie Barreto tells us why.
U.S. President Donald Trump talks tough on trade against China, Canada, and the EU at a joint news conference with Polish President Andrzej Duda on Tuesday. as China set a 10% tariff on U.S. liquefied natural gas imports, extending a trade dispute into energy. Trump says the U.S. had just started to discuss tariffs with China.
We didn't do anything with respect to China because we wanted to have the benefit of China having to do with North Korea. And they have been helpful. I hope they're still helpful. There's a question about that. But it got to a point where the numbers were too big.
The comments come one day after Trump escalated his trade war with China, imposing 10% tariffs on about $200 billion worth of Chinese imports on Monday, to which Beijing responded on Tuesday that it would tax U.S. products worth $60 billion effective September 24 in retaliation. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow says that the United States was ready to negotiate a trade deal with China if Beijing was ready for serious discussions. Trump ramped up pressure on Canada one day ahead of Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland's latest round of talks with U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, which are scheduled in Washington on Wednesday.
They cannot continue to charge us 300% tariff on dairy products. And that's what they're doing. So this is a process. It takes a little time.
Last month, Trump announced a side deal with Mexico and made clear he was prepared to exclude Canada if necessary. The comments come as the US and EU make their first push for closer ties after trade detente, which Trump says came after he threatened European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker to impose tariffs on EU cars. Charlie Barreto, UNTV News and Rescue.
Residents of the Carolinas struggle to return to normalcy after taking a beating from Hurricane Florence. At least 32 people have been killed, and damages from the storm are estimated to range as high as $22 billion. Beverly Saison tells us why.
A family, including an 8-month pregnant mother, a 4-year-old daughter, and an 8-year-old son, were rescued from severe flooding brought on by Storm Florence on Sunday. The family, which also included the children's father, a 60-year-old uncle, and the family dog, had been holding on to trees about 100 yards apart for 4 hours when they were rescued by the Wild Florida team. The pregnant woman, Kelly Massey, said she is very thankful to the people who saved her family and said she thanked God for being rescued. Meanwhile, residents of the Carolinas struggled to return to normalcy on Tuesday after taking a beating from Hurricane Florence, but those efforts were hindered by standing water and the anticipation of more flooding from swollen rivers. With 1,500 roads closed across North Carolina, fire and rescue crews were waiting to go into many areas to assist with structural damage after Florence dumped up to 36 inches of rain. Most of the road closures have affected the city of Wilmington, leaving a lot of motorists stranded.
It's been a nightmare and did what I did. But yes, we're on an island right now, and the few that may go in and out, like I said, no gasoline.
At least 32 people have been killed since Florence came ashore as a hurricane on Friday, including 25 in North Carolina and 6 in South Carolina. Estimates of damage from the storm ranged as high as $22 billion. As the remnants of Florence pushed through Pennsylvania and reached into New England, the Weather Service said the storm had dumped more than 8 trillion gallons of rain in North Carolina. Widespread flooding already has reached roofs, turned highways into rivers, and left thousands to be saved by rescue workers. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
Australian authorities are investigating reported incidents of the needles found concealed in some fruits that has fueled sabotage and copycat fears. Here's why from Nina Bascon.
Australian police say sewing needles have been found hidden in an apple and a banana, amid a nationwide scare that has tormented the strawberry industry.
That just freaked me out because I'm thinking my daughter normally just grabs and just bites into apples.
Since last week, Australians in every state have reported finding needles concealed in strawberry punnets. Health Minister Greg Hunt has called it a vicious crime and ordered the nation's food watchdog to assist in resolving the scare. Police say the apple and banana cases, both in Sydney, were isolated, but this added to more than 20 scares involving strawberries in New South Wales alone.
All investigations have been treated as genuine. However, any incidents of self-contamination or suspected copycat incidents impact on the industry and are very unhelpful to authorities and will be treated as food contamination.
The first cases emerged in Queensland. In that state, authorities say they are investigating whether the sabotage is due to one person or several people operating independently. In the most serious case, a man was taken to hospital last week after eating a strawberry that contained a needle. Police have stepped up warnings about copycat incidents, saying perpetrators and those who make false reports face up to 10 years in jail.
It's not a joke. It's not funny. You're putting the livelihoods of hard-working Australians at risk, and you're scaring children, and you're a coward and you're a grub. And if you do that sort of thing in this country, we will come after you and we will throw the book at you.
Meanwhile, strawberry prices have already dropped around the country, with prices in Western Australia now below the cost of production. The scare, which comes during the peak of production, has affected thousands of workers in an industry worth about 130 million Australian dollars a year, the federal government said. Queensland has announced a 1 million Australian dollars assistance package for farmers in the state. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue, Australia.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Stephanie C., live from Hong Kong. Visitors to a museum set to open in New York City are advised to prepare themselves for what they are about to see. Abby Valdez tells us why.
The Museum of Illusions is a place where seeing is not the same as believing. Filled with confusing mirrors, mind-bending geometric patterns, and trippy colors and light, each optical illusion challenges your brain to reconcile what is seen by your eyes. The museum is part science and part art, and unlike most other museums, visitors are invited to interact with the installations and puzzles.
But I would say the educational and the fun aspect of the museum is the most important thing, so people really get to lose themselves inside of the museum, explore the exhibits, have fun.
The first Museum of Illusions opened in Zagreb, Croatia in 2015. The museum was so popular that it opened in other cities around the world. New York City will be the museum's 11th location. 4 more are slated to open by the end of the year. The Museum of Illusions opens to the public in New York City on Thursday, September 20. Abby Valdez, UNTV News and Rescue, San Francisco, USA.
And those are the reasons behind the news, September 19, 2018. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.